Welcome to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison.
I'm Molly, a former skeptic turned full-time energy healer and teacher.
And I'm Madison, a born and raised witch running my family's crystal shop.
And we're here to explore all things woo through the lens of both science and spirituality so that you can find the moments of magic in your everyday life and create an intentional spiritual practice.
So if that's what you're into, find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's demystify some magic. Howdy doody, friends.
Howdy doody.
We are so topical today. We've been topical. This has been topical for months because I can't shut up about the fact that I'm moving. And it's because I've made it the most long and drawn out process. But I promise after this episode, I'll shut up about the fact that I moved.
I won't, because now I'll be moving.
Now it's your turn. This episode will mark the official passing of the baton of my time to complain about moving has come to an end. And it's time for yours to begin.
Yeah, I know. To catch you up. What you missed on last episode of Demystify Magic. If you've been following along my journey since literally January, we've been planning this big renovation on our house. And over the last month and a half, we basically sat down and had to sit with, okay, do we want to basically put a small house on the back of our house? It was going to be a very expensive, time-consuming project that was not going to be fun. Or do we want to take the equity that we've accrued over the last 4 years in our home and buy a different house? And we basically came to the agreement that it makes more sense to move. So over the last 6 weeks, I have been looking at houses, staging my house, decluttering my fucking house. It's been awful. And we have no idea when we're moving, where we're moving, how we're moving. We just know it's happening sometime. My astrologer says that it's looking really good for early September for a closing or a contract to be started. And she also says that the beginning of the year would be a good time to move. So I've got some time to play with.
So what we're saying is essentially strap in because
strap in.
The moving talk, it's not over. It's just begun.
It's just begun.
So we figured to commemorate this monumentous occasion of the complaining torch being passed from me to Molly, that we would pull out all of our best moving magic.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of thoughts and feelings.
We do, as usual.
Yeah, what else is new? But first, Molly, what was your magic moment this week?
I had a clairaudience moment. That involves Sabrina Carpenter.
I love when I haven't heard about your magic moment beforehand.
I know. You've heard parts of it, but I'm going to tell the culmination story, which you have not heard.
Okay.
So, about a month and a half ago, I had espresso stuck in my head. And not in the usual way. I've gotten to the point now where I can tell when I'm hyper looping on a song in my head. Mm-hmm. And I have broken that with espresso. Now when it pops in, I'm like, okay, what is this trying to say to me? Spirit, what do I need?
It's trying to say that he's thinking about me every night. Oh.
Isn't that sweet? I guess so. But my truth is, I decided it meant that I needed to go get a little treat magic and get myself an espresso.
Love.
And so I took my laptop, I took my work to the bookshop/coffee shop that I enjoy, being intentionally vague so that y'all don't steal it from me. And I get myself my little treat espresso. And I'm like, well, before I get to work, I should just take a lap.
Stop the gatekeeping. I'm sorry. That's so funny.
It's going to make sense in a second. Hold on. So I decided to take a little lap around the bookstore just to look, quote unquote, just to look. What I haven't mentioned is the night before my little treat magic for doing something. I don't remember what it was, but you said I should get a little treat. So I went to Target.
That sounds like me.
And I saw this book right at the checkout, and I was like, I need that book. Couldn't tell you why. Could not tell you why. I was just it jumped out at me. I was like, that's my little treat. And I even went to the book section. I was like, am I sure? Am I sure this is the book? Yeah, it was the book. Anyways, I'm taking a lap around the store, and I see that book that I just bought at Target the night before. And I go up to it. There's a bookmark in it. And on the bookmark, it says, there is a book club at this coffee shop bookstore that I love. And that is the book that they are reading this month. I already owned it. So I read the book. I went to the book club. There's 3 of us in this book club.
Perfect.
Perfect. And we just talked about smut for an hour and a half. It was so fun. So thank you, Sabrina.
That's so funny. Oh God.
We're reading a smutty Tarzan retelling for next month, so
Incredible.
I'll keep you apprised.
Thank you. I'll need updates expeditiously.
That was my magic moment. What was yours?
Mine is so much less exciting. My magic moment, for those who have been listening, also for those who follow us on Instagram, you already know that I did this. But if you've been listening for a while, you know that I am a chronic nail biter. And I have been trying to stop in earnest, like on and off for like, the last 26 years of my life, but in earnest for like the last year. And it's been 5 days since I saw a hypnotherapist for my chronic nail biting. And I'm not a skeptic about much. I was not even skeptical about the idea of hypnosis. I was skeptical about my ability to be hypnotized.
Mm-hmm. You have can't sit still-itis.
Uh-huh. And truthfully, like my greatest fear more than anything is that I would like sit down with this person, because I'm also a people pleaser, right? And I was so afraid that I would pay this person money and then not get hypnotized and then be too afraid to tell her. Like I was resigned.
So relatable.
I was resigned to the fact that like if I would just say whatever came to mind. Like if I wasn't if I wasn't having an experience, I was just gonna like bullshit this person that I was paying.
Yeah, that sounds like the Madison I know.
Because what do you say? Like, but whatever, regardless.
Yeah, it's like when the hairstylist says, "Do you like it?"
There's no answer other than I love it. That's like
I love it.
It's the most beautiful haircut I've ever had. I've done that. Do you remember?
Yeah, me too.
I had a haircut so bad that I once convinced myself, because I was me and this hairstylist we had like slowly become friends over the course of my previous appointment, and then the next time I saw her, she fucked me up so bad that I was like, oh, she just doesn't want to be my friend. She never wants to see me again.
It was giving a little bit of Lord Farquaad.
It was the worst ever, but we're
anyways.
I didn't leave the house for like 3 months.
Well, I think a couple of weeks ago I told the story about how my hairstylist fucked me up so bad, and I still kept my appointment with her to do my wedding hair.
Yes. I just need you guys to know like the level of people pleasing that you're dealing with. So like there's 2 levels of like fear going into this appointment of like, 1, what if I still bite my nails? And 2, what if I have to lie for 2 hours? Like what if I have to pretend to be hypnotized for 2 hours? And I went, and it was great. The hypnotherapist actually reminded me so much of you that it immediately was like, okay, I'm comfortable. Because we did like a free consultation, and she sat me down and she was like, okay, I can explain this to you with science, or I can explain this to you with spirituality. Which would you prefer?
Both, please.
And that's exactly what I said. I was like,
middle of the Venn diagram.
I love to hear them both. And that was Wednesday. Today is Monday, and I have not put my hands in my mouth once.
Wow. Does it just take 1 appointment, or do you have to go back?
She said that she felt pretty confident that we could knock it out in 1, but it kind of like depends. And so I think that I might not need to go back.
Oh my God.
And even when I like sit by myself, because like I'll be honest, I do kind of miss it. And so sometimes I'll be by myself and I'll be like, you could bite your nails right now and no one would know. And then I think about it and I'm like, ugh, it doesn't even sound appealing.
You know what's so funny? I'll tell you the intrusive thought that just passed through my brain.
Tell me.
My brain was like, oh, you could just pick up like a different oral fixation habit, like smoking.
Then that hypnotherapist would fucking love me when I go see her in 6 months to quit smoking.
No, but seriously, when I quit smoking in college, I used to carry bendy straws with me everywhere because chewing on the straw helped with the oral fixation. So maybe you could try that. I don't know.
We'll see. Maybe I'll just pick up Jolly Ranchers.
That works too. Speaking of Jolly Ranchers.
I didn't even mean that to be such a good segue.
I know.
Plot twist, that's on our list today.
It is on our list. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Keep listening to see how we make Jolly Ranchers fit into this magic podcast.
Weird episode.
All right. We're diving in. We're taking off our silly hats and we're putting on our serious hats for this very serious moving magic episode.
Oh, I lost mine.
Tough.
I only have my silly hat.
It's gonna be a long day, everybody.
The serious hat didn't match my outfit. I'm picturing like a top hat.
Oh, mine was kind of like a duster. That's not it. Is that a hat?
I'm not sure what a duster is.
What I'm picturing in my head.
Speaking of duster.
Yeah, something that you can do. Okay. First on our list is my least favorite, I'll be honest. And it is to deep clean your space the second you get into it.
Yeah.
Hate it. Don't want to do it. Always feel so much better afterwards. To me, the physical cleaning has to come before the energetic cleansing. I don't know how that feels for you because it's like, because I love to smoke cleanse in a new space. Mm-hmm. And like this incense or herb smoke like mixed with somebody else's smell. No.
That's a no from me.
You need to pull out that duster.
I will tell you, when I moved into this house, it was my first time buying a house, and I assumed when you sell a house, you have to clean it like you do an apartment, right?
Right.
Someone comes in and cleans it. No. There was dirty dishes in our dishwasher. There was food crumbs everywhere. There was mice because it had been vacant for so long that the mice got in and were eating the crumbs. So I literally had to scrub this place. Like I had to scrub every cabinet, front, back, inside, outside in the like 2 hours before I had to go to work for like a 12-hour shift in the middle of COVID. It was horrible. It was horrible.
I also had this expectation.
Yeah, right? Like
we keep finding things. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm going to clean this fucking house so good when I leave that people are going to be like, wow, a witch didn't live here because there's no evidence of it because it's so clean.
Mm-hmm. I keep finding things in this house. This was almost my magic moment today, but I found teeth in this house.
Okay, wait. Can I tell the story from my side and then you can tell the story from your side?
Yes.
So I famously follow Madison's boyfriend on Instagram just to keep tabs on the weird things she doesn't share with me and occasionally laugh at his silly middle school photos he posts.
Because he is the one who will share the things that I will not share.
And I remember it was one night I was like voice memoing you and you weren't responding. I was like, oh, she must be busy doing something fun. And then I just see Drew pull out a bag of teeth and show them. And I just texted you, teeth? Question mark.
And I said, teeth! Exclamation point. It was the day that we brought our cats to the house. And I hear a cat like playing with something under the guest bathroom vanity.
No.
It's not the teeth. It's a tin. It's an old peppermint bark tin. And inside the peppermint bark tin was the teeth. And God bless Anthony's husband is a dental hygienist. So I sent them to him. I said, look what I found in my house. And he confirmed they're wisdom teeth.
I know. I was going to say they look like molars or something. They weren't like baby teeth.
No,
they were like
grown up motherfucking teeth. So clearly I did not do a good enough job in my deep clean. I also found, I don't think I told you this, I found a pair of LSU slippers under that same vanity that had like huge L and R written on them for left and right. Just in case you forgot. So yes, get all
the nooks and crannies.
I'll get all the nooks and crannies. And
every closet.
Open every drawer. Stick your little head under every vanity. Because I feel like I'm still deep cleaning this place.
It's so much easier to do before you move your stuff in too, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can really go. I feel like part of what overwhelms me about deep cleaning is like moving all of my things. So if a room is empty, I'm like, hell yeah, I can scrub the wall top to bottom. I
Uh-huh.
got this. It's so much faster, so much easier, and then you move your stuff in and you know it's clean and
Mm-hmm.
you won't find teeth.
Also, like cleaning your stuff as you pack it.
Yes.
This is something that I, again, didn't do, so I've been cleaning it as I unpack it because
Mhm.
having it in my freshly deep cleaned space really brings attention to how dirty it is.
Yeah. I also really love like I know I hate packing and everyone hates packing, everyone hates moving. It is one of the most stressful things that a person can encounter.
Yeah.
Right up there with death and
Death,
divorce.
divorce, and moving, the three most stressful things. I've said that
Mhm.
probably every 45 minutes for the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. I'm about to start. But think about we always talk about how things in your home hold energy. So decluttering, think of it like an energetic deep cleanse. Like I'm noticing I've moved a lot in my life. You know, I was someone who I went to boarding school and then I went to college and I moved back to my parents and back to college, back to my parents, blah blah blah, and then moved apartments like every year until we bought this house. And so my collection of stuff has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. Like the things that I felt really sentimental to 10 years ago that I was like, oh, I'll never get rid of this. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
why do I still have this? This is weird.
Yeah.
You know, or 10 years ago, it was like, I remember I left a job and they gave me puppets as like a goodbye gift. I was, when it, don't look at me like that.
But like what kind of puppets? Like scary
A
puppets?
porcupine and a monkey.
No, but like what do they look like?
Penny and Sunny were their names because they were the same puppets that I used when I taught preschool and kindergartners
Okay.
body safety.
My head immediately goes to like marionette dolls.
I mean, I really wanted the like little boy puppet because I bonded with him so much, but they wouldn't let me keep him anyway. Because, dude, okay, I did literally like
I believe you.
5 shows a day, 5 days a week for 3 years with that puppet. Me and Sammy, we were like
I just want
this.
you to think about how it sounds.
I feel like our listeners know me well enough to know it's less weird.
If this is your first episode of Demystify Magic, I'm so sorry.
So sorry. So sorry.
Maybe
Go
take it
back to our
back.
chicken salad chick episode and then come listen to this one. I feel like that's a good intro to this mood that we're in. We're in a silly, goofy mood. Anyways, I had these puppets. They were given to me in 2017. So I've had them for 7 years, almost 8 years now. And I've moved them over and over and over. And finally, I was like packing up the room that they were in, and I was like, I don't think I need these puppets anymore.
Yeah.
They've just lived in a closet for 5 years. So it's interesting. I always see it as like this experience of like energetic growth
Mm-hmm.
that we almost don't see because it's so under the surface and so subtle, but it's like, wow, I've really moved on from that part of myself that felt like I can't let go of this porcupine, I can't let go of this monkey, I can't let go of this version of myself that I was when I was in that job, was really what they were, the energy they were holding on to. And so maybe if you're in that decluttering, packing, moving kind of mode, like maybe having that as the mind space rather than being like, oh, I have to declutter this closet. It's like, okay, where can I see my growth in the things that I'm ready to release? And instead of feeling bad about, all the quote unquote clutter you have, all the stuff you have, think about like, okay, this is energy that at some point maybe I'll part with, but right now it still has use to me in some way, shape, or form. And let that be neutral.
Yeah. And something that I really noticed in these last few weeks as I've been moving is like there's a first declutter that is when you're
Mm-hmm.
in your previous space. And there's a second declutter that comes when you're in your new space. And so
Yep.
if you're struggling to let go of some objects that maybe don't need to come with you into this new phase of life, don't get too in the weeds about it, because when you're in your new space, I think for me at least, it's a lot easier to see like, oh, the person that I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
this new version of me doesn't need these things. And I almost let the house make that decision for me of like, what don't I have physical space for right now?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's easy to have a junk drawer or whatever, or a junk corner in a space
Mm-hmm.
that you've been in for a long time. It's hard to,
Junk room in my case.
yeah. I have pieces of furniture that their whole job was just to hold junk.
Yeah.
It's easy to have that when you're just slowly over the course of time, like putting
Mm-hmm.
those things on that piece. And then when you're looking at all of it individually, I'm like, no, I really want and need those things.
Yeah.
It's okay to throw those things in a box and then realize, oh, I don't want to move into this new space and set up a piece of furniture for junk. And so
Yeah.
that makes it a lot easier for me to pare down what is actually going to stay. I do so much more decluttering in my new space than I do in my old space. I was talking to Anthony about it the other day, and I was like, my standards for what is coming with me are much lower in my apartment, and they've been much higher when it makes it to the house. And I understand that that's very counterproductive in that I move all this shit and then I'm like, no, I don't need this anymore. But it's what works for me, and it's okay. We did it, and it's fine. I don't have to be productive all the time.
Yeah. I follow a lot of like ADHD cleaning Instagram accounts. You're shocked, I know, if you follow me on Instagram. It's completely shocking that my algorithm shows these
That's
things
weird.
to me. But one thing that really stood out to me that I see kind of across the board of advice when it comes to decluttering, especially if you have a squiggly brain, is if it's a maybe, let it be a maybe and keep going, because the momentum is more powerful than like figuring that every single piece out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it can be a maybe right now and then keep going to the next thing, keep going to the next thing. And I see that as like almost like when you're cleaning your space, when you're deep cleaning your space, you're decluttering your space, it's like you're creating energetic momentum. And so you want the train to keep moving. You don't want to move it too fast that you burn out, right? But you don't want to stop and start and stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. If you've ever had like, I don't know about you, but I'm someone that like once I get into the groove, I've got a good audiobook on. I've got my favorite Demystify Magic podcast on. I could clean my entire house once I get into that groove and, sit down when I'm done and be like, whew, put my feet up and feel really productive. But if I'm like, cleaning 5 minutes between meetings, it feels like so much more cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think thinking about energetic momentum when you're doing that declutter, when you're doing that packing, I know for me, like I always get stuck on like, how am I going to pack my crystals because they're so delicate? And it's like, well, I'll just save those for the end. I'll just save those for the end. Just save them for the end. Great. Anything that feels like, because there's so many decisions and so much to think about, so much to plan, so much to stress about when you're moving that it's like sometimes you just have to pass the harder decisions to tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to pass them to tomorrow. You do. I know that might not be like, what James Clear would tell you to do in Atomic Habits. But I'm all for if you hit a speed bump, drive around it.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's easier to go over 10 speed bumps in a row than it is to be flying down the road, hit a speed bump, and then coast like slowly. Is that analogy? I don't know. It needs some work.
No,
But you
it
know
made
what I mean.
sense. Yeah. And what I found is that the things that feel impossible to me one day, when I allow myself to table it and come back to it later,
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be like the next morning I wake up and I have the solution.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a big difference between tabling it for later and the like executive dysfunction that I think we often get into where we're like, I can't do anything. I can't do
Mhm.
anything. Like sometimes I just won't be in an extroverted mood. So I'm like, okay, I really have to film content today, but I'm going to clean my bathroom instead.
Yeah.
It's like, there's so much to do when you're moving. Wherever you can take that stress off yourself, take it off yourself, right? Like, it's so much easier to tackle those bigger things when you're well rested, you're well fed, your environment feels a little bit better, even if that means you declutter the Monica closet that you have that really isn't a priority right now.
Mhm.
If it's going to give you that momentum, follow it, right? Like, I think so much of moving is about like almost like managing your energy more than
Mhm.
anything. Managing your energy when it comes to packing, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to, actually like physically lifting everything, unpacking. Like, And truly remember that you are stirring up a lot of energy in your space. That's going to change how you feel. So don't be discouraged if it's like, oh, I did one junk drawer and now I'm exhausted. It's like that energy's been stuck there for a while. Give yourself some grace. You might feel emotional, right? Emotions run high. You're stressed as fuck. But also, maybe that drawer of t-shirts that you haven't looked at in 10 years is holding on to some sentimental energy that you haven't felt in a while.
Yeah, I feel like more than anything, moving is such a lesson and a way to bring attention to your level of emotional regulation.
Your root?
100%. You might say.
You might say.
Call back. But really, like, if you're struggling with that, go back and listen to the root chakra episode. I promise one day we'll stop saying that, but not today.
I won't. You know, it's so funny. This is an aside, but I feel like you all will laugh at this. I was talking to my YouTube manager, Drew, the other day, and we were making
Not
plans
Drew,
for,
my
like,
partner,
okay,
Drew.
No, different Drew.
We're not that deeply interconnected.
Can you imagine if I flew to Florida every other week and filmed with your partner?
Wait, my dream.
My dream.
Drew, learn how to YouTube.
Anyways, I was talking to my YouTube manager and we were kind of making plans for, what videos I want to do in September. And he was like, okay, let's look at what was doing really well this month. And he's like, anything to do with the root chakra is just popping off right now. And I was like, yes, that makes sense because I won't shut the fuck up
because
about
I've
it.
relentlessly bullied anyone who won't watch it.
So a reminder that there's some resources on my YouTube as well if you want to go deep into the root while you're moving.
All right, something else that I really think is a great idea when you don't have anything else in your space, like things to do before you move your stuff into a new space, is crystal gridding.
Yes. I will never shut up about this.
And it's something, again, that I wish I did more of.
I'll tell you, here's how I set myself up for this. As someone who's moved many times, as I've just said, I pack a box with my crystals, whatever decks I want to use, my smoke cleansing, my bells, whatever I want to use to cleanse my space. I pack that box first. And then I put it in the front seat of my car.
Mm-hmm.
And I drive it to the space. And then I clean my space. And then I go to the center of the space. So maybe that's if you're moving into just like an apartment room, maybe it's your bedroom. If it's a whole space, maybe it's like the living room, the kitchen, whatever. I sit my ass down on the floor before I put anything else in the space. I lay out my crystals. I lay out my deck. I cleanse with my bells or my smoke or whatever. And then I give myself time to just play.
Mm-hmm.
Like play. People always ask me what crystals to use. I have no fucking idea. I bring just like a tackle box full of them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll start with one in the center that I know is like the energy I want to bring in, but I seriously just like let yourself play. Let yourself create something beautiful. I'll throw cards in there. I'll throw like dried flowers in there. Sometimes I'll put like one time I put a coaster from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland in my crystal grid because I was like, this is the energy I want to embody. Like this means something to me. You could put photos, whatever you want. Just let yourself play. Make it as big as you want in the space. I will often take up the entire room with it and then just leave it there. Just leave it there until you start to move your stuff in. And then usually I'll do like, we'll deep clean the space and then I'll put the grid down. And then whenever we come back to move in, whether it's in a couple of hours or a day or so, I'll just sweep it back up.
Mm-hmm. I love the calling to attention that it doesn't just have to be crystals. Like I think the thing that is a lot of the big barrier for entry for me and also for a lot of people is the feeling of like, oh, this means that I have to like go buy a bunch of stuff. I have to collect a bunch of things.
Don't buy anything. Don't buy anything.
Mm-hmm.
Use the stuff that you have. Use what you have.
And even if you don't have any crystals in your home, the idea that you could just lay out stuff, because I think the biggest thing...
Put your lamp for your bedroom in the center.
Yeah. When I like really boiled down all of the things that we listed out to talk about for this episode, it's like, how can I make this space feel like it's mine?
Yeah.
And the idea of like doing this deep clean, doing this like a physical and then an energetic cleanse, and then laying out things that embody not only the energy that you want to have, but also the energy of who you are is such a
Yeah.
powerful practice to imbue that energy of yourself into that space. I
Mhm.
think that really is the hardest part. I think that that is what like shakes that root up the most
Yeah.
is the idea, like I've said it the first night I slept in the house. I woke up in the morning and I was like, "Oh, this is the weirdest Airbnb I've ever stayed in." Like this feeling like you're staying in somebody else's home. You know, like
Yeah.
that is dysregulating after a while. That feeling that you get when you've been away from home, even if you're having a really good time. That
Mhm.
feeling that you get on like day 4 or 5 where you're like, "Ugh, I feel dysregulated. I don't feel right. I
I'm ready
need
to go
my
home
space.
now.
I'm ready to
Yeah.
go home." It is so difficult to experience that feeling in a place that is your home.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes what I'll do instead of crystals, so here's some alternatives if you don't have crystals or if you only have a few crystals, you want to pull some other things in. If you have coffee or tea that you drink in the morning, make that the center of your grid
Mm-hmm.
so that your first cup when in your new space is imbued with that energy. You could take your herbs and spices. I know some people are going to say this feels wasteful, but I like to say if it brings you joy, if it makes you feel more grounded, if it relieves stress in one of the top 3 most stressful experiences you can have,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe we need to rethink the word wasteful.
Yeah, big time.
But you can put some cinnamon sticks around whatever's in the center. If it's your coffee, your tea, maybe it's a photo of you and your family. Or you can use whatever herbs that you have that kind of look up the magical properties of them. Listen to our kitchen witchery episode for some ideas on that, and spread those around. Like make little like lines of them or sprinkle them around or whatever. I have grabbed flowers from the garden if there's any like flowers around or rocks that you find around the property, either the home you're leaving or the home you're moving to. Great options. If you have any jewelry that you wear all the time, you could stick that in the center, right? Like there's so many things you can have. I would say like whatever is the most special to you is going to be great. Don't worry about, well, can I put my lip gloss in the center? Like, fuck yeah, do whatever
Yeah.
you want, honestly. Like, let it be yours, truly. That's the whole point of it, is for you to spend some time in the space cultivating with who you are and who you want to be and what you want this space to be. And so you can't do it wrong.
Yeah, and I love the idea of like combining things from the place you're leaving and the place that you're going to, you know, like a flower from your new front yard with a rock from the path that you used to walk from your old
Mm-hmm.
house to your car or whatever it is, you know, like
Yeah.
the finding the connection to those two places almost creates like a channel between them.
Yeah. And honestly, like if you want to get like real scrappy, it's like you could use the takeout containers from the lunch you had while you were deep cleaning the space and like
Mm-hmm.
set the forks and knives around in like a way that feels really fun, right? Like you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like this big serious thing where you like spend a bunch of money. I actually recommend don't buy anything new for it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy anything new for it. Use what you have, use what you're bringing with you. Even thinking about that as you're packing, like, oh, this would be really nice in my grid. I really want this to be one of the first things I bring into my space, can really help make packing a little bit more special.
Yeah.
Next. Okay, Jolly Ranchers. We've kept you on the cliffhanger. But if you've listened to one of our Q&A episodes, you actually know this story. So when I moved into this house, my grandmother, may she rest in peace, she sent us a bag of Jolly Ranchers. And she said, this is like I think it's an old Jewish tradition, is what she said. But she said, after you close on a house, before you enter your new home, you throw the bag of candy into the space so that you welcome in sweetness into your life. And I love that. And so we did that. And then we kept the Jolly Ranchers in our fridge for like 2 years. And then I was like, these need to go. But every time I see Jolly Ranchers, I think of my grandmother. And so it's definitely a tradition that I'm going to be continuing on. If you don't like Jolly Ranchers, use whatever you do like, a bag of
Who
peanut
doesn't like Jolly
M&Ms.
Ranchers?
So I don't know. So I can't eat like a whole bag of them. But I'll have one if
Well, yeah,
there's like a bowl of them.
that's not their intention.
I know.
Although I could eat a whole bag of Jolly Ranchers. I love Jolly
Yeah.
Ranchers.
The idea is like, you can like think about what energy you want to invite into your space and then let that lead you in. So maybe it's blowing cinnamon in if you want to invite abundance or luck or whatever. Maybe it's like throwing some roses in because you want to invite more love or self-love or whatever. Like, think about crossing that threshold and what intention you want to bring into the space, and then throw it in before you enter.
Mm-hmm. I love that tradition. I think that's so tender.
It was very sweet. I just found the note that she sent us. It was on our fridge for literally 4.5 years.
That's so sweet.
So cute.
Another way to bring in that intention is to make a sigil for your home.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to make a sigil, go back and listen to our episode on sigils. I walk you through it literally step by step. And you'll notice that I use the numbers 1 through 9, I think, for that. Replace those numbers with the numbers in your house number.
Wait, I only have 2 numbers in my house number.
Well, maybe don't. Or do. I don't know. Maybe.
Whatever. I could add them together and then go 1 through.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Great,
I had to workshop it. I have more numbers in mind.
Yeah.
I was really proud of that idea. But yeah, find a way to include the numbers in your house number.
I like that.
When you make your sigil. Make your statement focused on the house. In this home, I am blank. This house is filled with blank. And then paint it on the walls. Yeah. And this is something that you can even do if you're renting. Scrape off a little chippy of the paint on your wall, take it to Home Depot, get a color match. This would probably be easier to just do with your finger, but if you paint, sometimes doing it with paint feels fun.
Yeah.
So I recommend. I'm just making sure that renters know that they are included, because.
Yeah. You could also write it in chalk on your front porch.
Also that.
Or underneath your welcome mat.
Yes. On your door with your finger.
Or we're going to talk about a new home simmer pot. You could take some of that water, put it into with some soap in a bucket and water, just a couple splashes of it. Wash your front door with it. Wash your floors with it. Draw it in with the mop. Draw it in with the rag.
Make a little sticker.
Oh, love this. Clear nail polish on the window frames.
Put it on your keys. I'm just saying, the options are endless, limitless.
We when we renovated our bathroom, we took some walls down and I drew Reiki symbols all throughout the walls before we put the drywall back up.
When we painted Spellcrafter, before they did it, Anthony went outside and painted, we hired somebody to paint the outside of the building. And before they did it, Anthony went and painted sigils and runes all over it for them to cover up.
Love it. Okay, another fun thing that you can do, and maybe this ties into your sigil idea, but you can look up the numerology of your house number or your apartment number. So you basically, if your number is higher than 9, you add all the digits together until you get a single digit number. And then we're going to leave a link in the show notes to rockethomes.com house number numerology. I don't know if this is the best resource, but you can just Google numerology for your house number, but take that numerology number. So say it's like 7 and make your sigil based on 1 through 7 rather than 1 through 9.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can use while you're looking for a space too. Like when I did this when we were looking for homes, I would always add up the numbers and find the numerology of the house.
Yeah. That's so funny. I have not been doing that, but I do, as I mentioned at the start of the episode, have an astrologer that I work with on a quarterly basis. And I was like, when would be the best time to go under contract? When would be the most auspicious? So it helps because over the weekend we made an offer on a house we really loved and we didn't end up getting it. And my first thought was, something better is going to come along because Chelsea said early September. So actually, I'm really glad we didn't get this house.
Yeah.
Because it was too soon.
You were jumping the gun.
I was jumping the gun. Something better. Chelsea said. Of course, I tell my Virgo skeptic husband that, and he's like, yeah, or we could get a worse house. And I was like, shut up.
You know what, Justin? Shut it.
Something else that is very fun is you can open the Akashic records of your house or your apartment or wherever you live, wherever you have a lease or a mortgage or a deed for. This is something you can also do it for your car. Not a lot of people know that. But this is very fun. I did this with this house and basically just asked, like, what's the vibe of the space? Like, what do I need to be successful in the space? What's going to help me feel balanced in this space? Like, what can I do to help heal this space? You can just have a little conversation with the Akashic records of your house.
And that's something that you can do in meditation, or you can see someone who specializes in the Akashic records if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself. I love the Akashic records.
Yeah. Highly recommend Krista Mitchell. That's who I learned everything about the Akashic records for. We have an episode with her.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have a rec.
Yeah, we have someone who works at the store. Her name is Linda, who does Akashic records and has taught me everything I know in so many regards. I just love her so much. And of course does things the most old school way. So I have to say, DM me for her email address. And actually so many of you guys have gone on to have readings with her. And she'll tell me about it. Well, first of all, I have to give people her email address. So I'll say, I gave someone your email address today. And then she comes back, she's like, the people who listen to your podcast are just so lovely. So thank you for making me look good, everybody. You're boosting my ego.
Okay, let's do a little rapid fire, some shit you can do that is witchy for your house.
Yeah.
So, number one of my faves, you can put black tourmaline or salt in the corners of your space for protection. Mm-hmm. Little black tourmaline chip or just a sprinkle of salt. Or what I did was I went and bought some chunks of Himalayan salt and I just popped them in the corners.
Yeah.
So I have it's kind of weird now because I'm pulling furniture around. I'm like, oh, there's this weird chunk of salt.
Yeah. Something else that you can do is I love to buy selenite sticks and then I'll break them into quarters. And I'll put those little quarters on top of doors and on every windowsill. So every door and every window gets a little piece of selenite, and that's just to cleanse myself as I leave and anyone else as they come in.
I love that. Yeah, I have selenite in every single room of the house in some way, shape, or form. I love it. Mm-hmm. Love it.
And if you don't love the idea of hunks of salt sitting on the ground, the same thing can be achieved with a salt lamp.
Yes, I love a good salt lamp. I think we talked about this in one episode, but I am a theater geek, and in the theater, we leave a ghost light on to appease the theater spirits. I think of that as appeasing the house spirits. So I will bring my salt lamp when I set my grid up, and I will just leave it on, and it will just stay on for the rest of eternity.
I love that.
Yeah. Next is a simmer. Sorry, I'm just reading the note that I read in here. If anyone's wondering how organized our notes are, I just wrote simmer pot fucker with 5 exclamation points after it.
Yeah, it's the professionalism, it has left the building. If you couldn't already tell from the way that we conduct ourselves on this podcast.
So a simmer pot that you can do for a new home when you get into your space. Orange to invite in joy, clove for friendship, cinnamon for luck, and salt for protection. Stick that on the stove while you're doing your deep clean or while you're moving things in. Just make sure you check it every once in a while so that it doesn't go dry. Nothing like a burnt simmer pot to really spoil the mood.
Yeah. That's one way to smoke cleanse.
Yayo!
And what I love to do, this will not surprise those who have listened for more than maybe 2 episodes, is to make a spell candle for your new home. And in this kind of spell candle, I'm going to say, I'm not going to give you any recommendations, not for color, not for oils, not for toppings, nothing. I want you to choose what feels the most homey. Literally, you know how people, as now that we've reached adulthood, we all argue about, what color was math? Mm-hmm. For your folders?
Green.
Green. Also maybe blue. Green was science.
Yes, I was going to say blue. Green or blue. It depends on what science ends up being.
Yep. It depends on if, yep. Okay. Anyways, I want you to treat making this spell candle like you were choosing your folders on the first day of school. It is purely based on what that feeling looks like to you. And I don't know where that comparison came from of the folders, but
I had Aaron Carter folders.
it's the same sort of like arbitrary, like, I can't explain why this color feels like home, but it does.
Yeah.
I can't explain why this herb feels like home, but it does. We do a candle workshop, like a make your own spell candle workshop at the Yelling Hedge Witch, and my mom always tells this story because, you know, like, we have all the oils and all the crystals and all the herbs, and we have, like, you know, a short little 3 to 5 word blurb about what those things represent. And my mom always tells the story that, you know, honeysuckle often represents abundance, but for her it's joy and peace and family, because her grandparents grew honeysuckle outside their house in North Carolina.
Cute.
And those feelings are so much more powerful, specifically for like something so personal as like what it feels to be at home.
Yeah.
That I want you to follow that.
For me, balsam and cedar smells always feel like
Oh,
home.
yes. Same.
I think because I grew up in the woods of Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like campfires. You know, everyone always had like a bonfire going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lived on a cul-de-sac near a pond. So it's like a little pond scummy smell in there, like woodsy vibes.
Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about like the smell of salt water.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And like the smell of rain.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's one thing about Florida, it gonna rain.
It gonna rain.
All right.
Did we do it?
I think we did it. Those are all of our best tips and tricks for how to use your magic to survive one of the top 3 most stressful things you'll ever do.
Let us know if you want us to cover the other top 3.
You know, I actually almost brought to you the idea of magic ways to get over a breakup.
Oh, I have no advice on that. It's been so long since I've had to go through one of those.
I'll just get on my soapbox and talk for an hour.
Perfect. Can't wait.
All right. Let us know if you want us to cover the other 2.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison. If you want to learn more about us, you can find all our links in the show notes.
We'd love to know what you think of today's episode, so drop us a review or give us a shout out on social media. And don't forget to let us know your magical moment of the week. Okay, love you. Bye.